If, like me, you live a busy modern lifestyle, then you might appreciate some ways to save time. Let's get into it. In today's video, I want to go over how combinations of time-saving, sort of not low effort, but low taxing techniques can kind of come together to make something that still looks pretty good. How we can sort of add together lots of different things that are all designed to save time and still look nice in order to help us chunk through some larger projects perhaps, or just to save us from a bit of burnout. So these are some top tips, I guess, techniques that I have compiled that are my favorite time savers, things that I like to go with as often as possible. Let's take a look at them. Firstly, as you can see, I've chosen a Blood Bowl Treeman here to be the model I'm going to demonstrate on. And a miniature like this has a lot of opportunities to incorporate time saves. The first one of which I'm going to bring in is the Airbrush, actually. With a tidy little mixture of browns and off-whites, I can build up a nice set of colour transitions in literally minutes, really simply and straightforwardly. And what's especially great here is that as I get into the lighter end of my colour range, I don't have to slow down and blend all those mid-tones together. I can just sort of pick a mid-tone colour and then go straight into my top end brightest colour. And the airbrush just kind of fills everything in for me. The sort of nature of a spray means that it just naturally kind of blends colours together a little bit more efficiently than you can do with a brush. And that saves a whole bunch of time. And since we have the airbrush out, we might as well use it for another function that it really excels at, and that is colour filtering. Whilst you absolutely can colour filter with a brush, the fast drying nature of airbrushing really speeds the process up. Here I've just taken a bright green, thinned it to high heaven, and applied like 5 or 6 really thin coats with the airbrush until it filters my bright areas towards green. Really simple and straightforward to do, but it produces a very nice consistent filter, which is something that's quite hard to get with a brush. Often scorned as a cheats technique that has absolutely no place in high quality painting, let me tell you, I happen to love a bit of dry brushing. On something like the bark of our tree here, for example, that fluffy woolly texture that dry brushing adds, which definitely can look a bit naff on some things, really helps sell that kind of effect of bark here. It actually does us a lot of favours. And what's more, once we've got a good range of dry brushed colours laid down, there's absolutely nothing stopping us nipping in to reinforce some stronger highlights the old-fashioned way. Better yet, because we've already built up a lot of colour, we can kind of skip ahead in the scheme of highlights, going straight into the brighter colours that would normally form the end of our highlight range, and it actually again saves us time in that department as well. They scare a lot of folk, but I'll be entirely honest, I can't live without them. Just a black and maybe a couple of browns and a bit of cheap white spirit is all you need to get started experimenting with oil washes. It's as simple as slopping them all over the area you want to shade, and then using a sponge or a cotton bud or a paintbrush, a beauty blender, pretty much anything really, just to pull off as little or as much of the excess as you want. Unlike a normal acrylic wash, these also have a kind of divot effect as you pour them away, so they sort of blend that shade in for you, making it look like you've done a lot more work than you actually have. A bit of matte varnish over the top of them, they'll blend straight back into your acrylics, you'll never even know that you changed medium, but it looks really cool. So if you have already used an airbrush to work up a miniature, then chances are towards the top half of that miniature at least, and probably across most of it, a lot of your areas will already have good sort of values represented in them where the airbrush is just kind of laid in natural top-down highlights as part of the process. And what might be wrong is just that the colours may not be exactly how you want them. In cases like this, some manual filtering over an underpainting is a great plan. Much the same as airbrush filtering, just built up with very controlled, even brush strokes, contrast paints also happen to do an excellent job here. If you can keep the glazes thin enough, and this is a little bit more tricky, you can even use your paler colours to kind of blend in some highlights while you're at it. Pale colours glaze very differently to dark colours. Anything that's got white in it as a paint sort of has a milkiness or a cloudiness to it when it glazes, and it doesn't necessarily work in the traditional way that we would normally use a glaze, but if you're filtering over an entire surface with it, a full shape, that can work great. Even if you lack the confidence to attempt refined precision wet blending, just some rough ones into an area to get you started can form a fantastic basis for something that you can then come back and neaten up at a later point, maybe with some glazing or something that's just a little bit more forgiving. The basics of wet blending are very easy to get going with. Just keep that paint nice and thick with 2Cs and you'll have no problem. So even if you're still developing your precision, start including it as a precursor, maybe to some more careful smoothing out, and you'll notice an amazing speed boost in getting those blends locked in. And so by combining all of these techniques, I feel like that is where we have an opportunity to really create something that is greater than the sum of its parts. The combination of lots of little kind of life hacks, if you will, and I do hate that word, but I can't really think of a better one. It can really help to sort of lower that time investment, but also keep those stress levels down at the same time. And that's something I'm really fond of. It makes continuously painting every single day a hell of a lot easier. I mean, is this Treeman the greatest thing I've ever painted? Probably not. But considering that it was both very quick to pull off and really not difficult at any point, I'm actually really proud of it. And I think you'll agree, our tree guy here looks pretty great. However, it's got to be said, these are just my favourite time savers. It doesn't necessarily mean they're your favourite time savers, and I'd love to hear in the comments what things you go to when you're looking to get through a piece a little bit quicker. What are your ideas for how it's best to save time while still making something that looks a way that you're proud of it? So with all of that said, I really hope you liked this video, and I hope that if you did like it, you'll click that thumbs up button to let me know that you liked it. You can of course also sub to the channel and enable notifications if you want to stay up to date on what I'm doing here on YouTube. And if you really love the content and you want to support its creation, there is a Patreon campaign starting from as little as 70p a month. Link in the description to that, along with links to my affiliates and my sponsors and social media and all that kind of junk that you might want to go and check out. But with all of that said, I'm going to get out of here now, so thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, everybody.